Hey friends, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a cozy coffee chat where I share with you 5 tips and strategies that I like to share with my clients to help survive the holidays with confidence so you're eating well, feeling energized, and sticking to your goals throughout the holidays with ease. You're not overthinking your nutrition, but you are being mindful of it and making sure that you feel your best as you go into the new year. Let's face it, the holidays are full of maybe family or friend events, just holiday events in general that involve a lot of food, and that can come with it some temptation or maybe eating just differently than you normally would before the holidays. So it takes a little strategizing to get through that and make sure that you come out the other side without, skewing your blood sugar levels, without feeling like you're having to start fresh in the new year. I always find that that's the best way to go into the new year. I don't like going into January 1st feeling all this pressure to completely transform my life. I personally like to take it quarter by quarter and even month by month to strategize how I can live my best and healthiest life, and just honestly to check in with myself and see, am I really aligned and in tune with my goals or not? All right, so without further ado, let's talk about some of the tips. Again, this will be like a more casual video, but always let me know what topics you want me to talk more about on the channel. You know that I talk about everything from PCOS, blood sugar management, hypoglycemia, to things like having a healthy relationship with food, because that's where my journey started from. So let me know in the comment section below what topic you want to see next on a coffee chat. Okay, tip number 1 is to not skip meals during the holidays. I know this can be extra tempting, especially when we have planned events that we know there's going to be a lot of food at, and maybe it's like with good intention, right? You want to go into it like, okay, I'm saving up as much room as possible in my stomach because I want to enjoy the food that's there. And that's all well and good, but you still want to stick with your normal eating habits throughout the day. Maybe those meals can be a little bit lighter. Maybe they can be a little bit different than normal. Maybe it's like some fresh fruit and nuts instead of your normal like bigger snack or something like that. But you still want to have consistent meals and snacks to keep your blood sugars in check. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to go into those meals for the holidays with really low blood sugar, and that's going to make it really hard to A, make mindful choices, and B, it's going to make it more tempting to have maybe a higher quantity of food than you might normally have, or a higher quantity of carbohydrates and sugary sweets than you would normally have. Your body has natural hunger signals that are going to shoot out with full force if you go longer than normal without eating, because that's this way of protecting you from starvation, and it's motivating you to find food because it's like, okay, you haven't given me food in several hours. What's the deal? This just leads to more spikes and dips than necessary. So I really don't recommend skipping. Again, you can always go just a little bit lighter during those meals during the day, but I still recommend getting carbs, fat, and protein at least breakfast, and then having a small light snack before you head into your holiday events. So you're able to choose the dishes that you really want to have mindfully, not just haphazardly. Tip number 2 is to have your sweets or dessert after dinner. There's nothing wrong with having sweets in general. I think the holidays are, of course, times where you want to enjoy the foods that you have, and maybe that includes your favorite holiday dessert. I don't think there's anything wrong with that in moderation, and I think you should definitely focus on enjoying that. But when it comes to blood sugar management, what you want to avoid is having sweets on an empty stomach, because A, you're not going to feel very satisfied for very long with those sweets on an empty stomach, and then it's going to cause more eating later than you might normally have, and then B, it's going to spike your blood sugar without having any sort of, other stuff to balance it out, because typically what a dessert has is a lot of sugar and probably a lot of dietary fat, which arguably slows down the blood sugar a little bit, but not enough to avoid the cascade of hunger that it causes. So I recommend having your balanced meal, like, your green beans, your mashed potatoes, your meat, and whatever else you have at your holiday meal, and then having your dessert, because then it will sit on top of that balanced meal with hopefully fiber, fat, and protein, and that'll make it easier on your blood sugar. Your blood sugar is not going to spike quite as much. I know that may sound counterintuitive, so let me know if that's something that you've tried before. I really would love you to experiment with that and try a sweet on an empty stomach once. See how your energy feels an hour or two later, and then try having a sweet after dinner, and then tell me the difference between how you reacted and how your blood sugar reacted. It's honestly a really insightful experiment to have, because I know back in the day, I used to think it was better just to have it on an empty stomach because it was sugar, it was bad for me, and whatever, and it inevitably caused more problems than if I just had it with a full meal. Tip number 3 is to be mindful with alcohol. So as you probably know, alcohol is not necessarily the best thing for your blood sugar, and it can cause blood sugar drops. So that feeling like after you have a glass of wine or maybe a beer or a fancy little sugary drink for the holidays that you're immediately hungry afterwards. That's usually because blood sugar drops after we have alcohol, which again leads to more mindless eating, and then also can just be bad on our mood. It can be bad on our cortisol levels, and we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So I kind of treat alcohol in a similar manner as the desserts. I like to have it on a full stomach so you're not having as much of that blood sugar drop, and you have something to sit on your stomach with it and not alone. We all know what happens when we have alcohol on an empty stomach. It is not not usually a good thing. Also, of course, as you probably know, make sure you're hydrating plenty with having alcohol as well. It's just going to help you feel better the next day and hopefully keep you from feeling like too heavy of a hangover and stuff like that, which can also lead again to just, having not the best mood and energy the next day, which can lead to more mindless eating even a day after we enjoy our holidays. So it just continues that habit of having to have these sugary foods to boost our energy if we don't try to tackle alcohol and avoiding hangovers later on. If you guys have any fun alcohol stories that you want to share, by all means, feel free to drop them below. I've never honestly been that much of a drinker. I did a little bit more in grad school, not a ton, but just some with my friends. And I just never have felt good with drinking a lot. I don't like how my body feels when I don't have full control over it. So that's never been a big thing for me. And then I've always had that weird feeling of low blood sugar and I have reactive hypoglycemia, or I used to really struggle with it. Now it's a little bit better, but I've never really enjoyed alcohol and getting drunk that much. I prefer one glass of wine, maybe two, and that's good enough for me. Curious how you feel in the comment section below, especially if you struggle with hypoglycemia or PCOS or insulin resistance. Any of those things usually I find makes you not enjoy drinking quite as much. You let me know. But how do you feel about alcohol? Do you enjoy a nice glass of wine? All right, tip number 4 that I have for you is to enjoy a nice short walk after each big meal, especially those meals where you're tempted to just sit on the couch and not do anything for the rest of the night. Those meals are what I'm talking about. So take a quick walk outside with your family, enjoy the weather, enjoy their company and conversation. And this will also subsequently help your blood sugar levels actually come back down to a more normal level. So like cardio, like walking, helps our body's insulin response respond better. So in other words, it increases our insulin sensitivity, which is something that you often have issues with if you have insulin resistance or insulin resistant PCOS. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute to an hour-long walk. Just 5 to 10 minutes can make an improvement. So walk around the block, come back, and then you can sit on the couch and enjoy your favorite holiday movie and sip that glass of wine, and you will be doing just fine. I know it can be really tough to get in exercise and things like that when you're visiting family, so just try to incorporate small bits of movement throughout your day so you can end up feeling better in the long run and still getting in activity, but not necessarily maybe your full exercise routine. That's okay if it's just for a week at a time. But do you need something? Are you going to be there the entire time staring at me like a little gargoyle boy? He's so sweet, but so creepy sometimes. All right, tip number 5 is to prioritize fiber and protein at meals. This is kind of my rule of thumb in general for PCOS and insulin resistance. So you're gonna hear me say it a million times over, but it stands true for holidays. Sometimes when we're eating totally different than we normally would during the holidays, we need to have a focus and an emphasis on fiber and protein even more than normal. So how you can do this easily is always make sure that you're having some sort of produce on your plate, whether it be fruits, veggies, or both, preferably both, and make sure that you're having some sort of, like, if you're not vegetarian, having the meat that's on the table. That's probably a good thing to make sure that you have enough protein. And if you're vegetarian, you can always have the tofu option, the beans, the lentils, maybe the hearty minestrone soup that they have, whatever you have. And if you have a family that maybe doesn't cook in the exact way that aligns with your diet, make sure to bring your own dish. There is nothing that they can do to stop you from bringing your own food to the table. Like, most of the time, that's pretty standard for holiday events. So just, spread the joy and bring an extra vegetable dish and extra protein dish, and you'll be good to go. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. What is your number 1 tip or hack that you want to share with us to get through the holidays with ease and with confidence? The holidays, they're never going to be perfect. Sometimes I've had holidays where I felt, even more aligned with my health and fitness routine. And then I've had some where it was just a complete wash and you just have to start fresh afterwards. But both are totally normal. And I hope these tips maybe helped you so you can go through the holidays feeling good about your blood sugar and making sure that you're not having to start over in the new year fresh and feeling hungover and low blood sugar. Never a good feeling. If you have PCOS, make sure to check out my PCOS supplement guide and meal plan below. The meal plan is also good for those with insulin resistance and just wonky blood sugar in general, so it applies to you as well. If you want to download that guide, it'll put you on my email list. I have some special stuff coming for the new year, so you'll definitely want to get on that. And I'll also leave some of my holiday favorites in the description, some fitness gift ideas, stuff like that too, if you want to check them out. Thanks so much for supporting this channel, and I hope you have happy holidays, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.